Got it. How to Fly to Europe for Nearly Free. It's a catchy title, right? Welcome, friends, to this very, very popular masterclass with Suze and Kelly. I'm Suze, your host. I'm a style curator. I create wanderlust soul experiences for my clients. And I'm super thrilled today to have us joined by Kelly Butler. She is going to travel hack us into resourcefully creating and using a cache of credit card miles. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Suze. I'm really happy to be here with you all, and I cannot wait to dive straight into these tips. So everybody bear with me for just a second. I am going to share my screen so that we can get into all of this goodness as quickly as possible. So let's see. Here we go. All right. So why should you care about building and redeeming travel points, which is what we're going to talk about today? So, as I talk with other people in my circle, talk with clients and friends, there are a few different reasons why people have about caring. The first one is traveling more luxuriously. So, who doesn't like to be pampered, wants to feel really special and create those unique memories at the point where you are in your life? So, maybe that's one of your goals today is to travel more luxuriously. Maybe you care more about traveling more often, having that travel be more accessible to you, create more memories with the people you care about. And then others really want to share travel with others. So, or even gift travel, gift travel to a mom or a sister, and create those experiences where they can share that travel with somebody that they love. So, if any of those resonate with you, you are going to pick up some incredible tips today. What we're going to talk about is very different from what you may have heard. And after you hear this information, I promise you will never look at travel the same. I'm here to help you challenge what your existing beliefs about travel are and to help you realize what travel is actually possible for you. So today we are focused on how to fly to Europe for nearly free, now that we've gotten that more broad overview. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever been in a spot where you have let some expensive airfare get in the way of planning a trip that you really wanted to take? Before I got started in this world that we sometimes call travel hacking, I definitely let that be the case for me. So I had one trip in particular that I can remember when my boys were a little bit younger. We loved to hike as a family, and I really wanted to take them out to Montana, to Glacier National Park. And I remember opening up my web browser, and I just wanted to take a look at what this budget was going to be for our family. And I got sticker shock right out of the gate looking at that airfare. And you know what? It just stopped me in my tracks, and I didn't go any further. I didn't start looking at hotels or activities. The whole thing just sort of died right there. And I had some other trips, I would say, like even those international trips that I wanted to take with my sons. We did eventually do that with them, but knowing what I know now, it makes me sort of sad to see that those dreams could have been realized a lot sooner. And so that's why I feel such a sense of urgency to share this with you today so that you don't have to wait like I waited. So if you have felt that you're kind of being held back by this expensive airfare, you're definitely not alone. I was just looking at this article in CNBC that came out in May that airfare is up over 25% and that it's outpacing inflation. And so you're definitely not alone. Most people would see that headline, they would believe that the airfare is too expensive, and then they're going to stop there. But not you, not after what you're going to learn today. So, how do we do this? How is it possible? So, it's often called, as I mentioned, travel hacking, which is strategically and responsibly using travel credit cards to build a bank of points that then can translate into dream travel. In this case that we're talking about today, airfare. So what does that bring up for you when you hear credit cards? Depending on how we all grew up and our own personal experiences, we have all developed money beliefs and beliefs about finances. And it's so interesting to me that when I bring up credit cards, a lot of people think, oh, credit cards are bad. That may be the first thought that comes into your mind. Spoiler alert, it is not bad. However, I will give you right out of the gate the first instance in which this does not make sense for you. If you have some credit card debt right now and you're not in a position to pay off your credit card bill on a monthly basis, I'm going to suggest this probably is not for you. I definitely want to be giving advice responsibly to you all. And if you're carrying forward interest charges on your credit card month to month, that is actually going to erase all the incredible travel benefits. So that is the one instance when I do agree, I would advise against it. However, if you are able to shift and begin using your credit card in place of a debit card and build the practice of paying it off each and every month, this process can be incredibly lucrative. And definitely, I will refute the myth that credit cards are bad. So I also hear from people that opening more credit cards is going to damage their credit score. That's actually not true if you follow a responsible way to do it. So I will tell you, myself and my husband, we both participate in this travel hacking game, which I love thinking about it as a game because it makes me feel more playful and excited about it. But we both have credit scores well into the 800s, even after opening multiple cards in a responsible way. So we can refute that myth too. Some people will say, well, I don't really have time to learn about this. Well, it's true that it does take some time and it's not exactly instant gratification. You do need to take the time to build your points and then be able to plan ahead to make your travel booking. And then you get the gratification of taking that dream trip. But I cannot express to you how amazing it feels to sit on the plane and look around and think of everybody around you that paid an exorbitant amount for their ticket, and you feel like you stole that flight because you booked it with your points. It is an amazing feeling. And once you get started, you will establish momentum quickly, and it makes it so much more exciting to continue. And the last myth that I want to talk about is when people see a credit card welcome offer. So I'm going to use the example of the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. It's one of my favorite beginner cards. But some people will see that it offers a 60,000 point welcome bonus, and they'll think that they have to spend $60,000 to get the welcome bonus. And it's amazing how many people think that, but that's actually not true. It's not a dollar for dollar. That is a welcome bonus. And the way that most welcome bonuses work is that you have a minimum spend that you place onto that credit card in a particular period of time. So in the example of that Chase Sapphire Preferred card, you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months, and then you get that 60,000 point welcome bonus. So it is not a dollar for dollar. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to rack up hundreds of thousands of points. All right. So I just wanted to clarify that myth as well. And I think what scares most people is that they just don't know the details. They don't have the time and the patience to get into the ins and outs, the tips and tricks of this world. But lucky for you, I am so nerdy about this stuff. I will take the time to do the deep digging and get you all of the important information so that you don't have to do that. I geek out over this stuff. I'm so excited to share it with you. So I'm going to take you through this, kind of 101 and a little bit about this journey. So I'd love to tell you a little bit more about myself. So I'm Kelly Butler. I am a travel junkie and I help other travel junkies to travel more often, more luxuriously, and have more fun while they do it. And I love it. How did I start out with this? Well, I have over 20 years in a corporate background at one of the top 50 tech companies in the world. And a few years ago, I decided to take a step out of corporate, that it just wasn't the world for me any longer. And during that period of time, I actually came down with COVID. And so I was upstairs in my guest room, just quarantined from my family with fever and this terrible cough. And at first, I was feeling super sorry for myself. But then I thought, you know what? Let me just give myself a purpose. Let me give myself a goal while I'm laying here, using up this whole box of tissues. And I decided my 20th anniversary is coming up. How can I think about a trip, a special trip for my husband Jeff and I to celebrate our 20th? And because I had taken a step back from corporate, our financials in our home had changed a little bit. And now really wasn't the time to come up with this giant splurge of a trip. And so I started thinking, how can we do this differently? How can we make it possible? And so I started watching these YouTube videos because when I had traveled before, even internationally, I was sitting in economy. I was sitting in one of those coach seats with my legs all scrunched up and, being herded along like cattle. And I was watching these YouTube videos of people flying in first class and business class, and these guys were not being herded like cattle. They had champagne being brought to them, caviar. They had access to incredibly luxurious lounges while they waited on their flights. They were lying in these lie flat beds on the plane. And I just was amazed. It completely changed my perspective about what was possible. And I started asking, like, if these people can do it, then why not me? And so that's when I really started to dive super deeply into this world of travel hacking and figure out how to make it happen. Fast forward to today, I have booked over $40,000 in nearly free travel for my family alone, and I help others to do the same. So, in these pictures on the slide, just for a quick bit of fun, the picture on the left is one of the places that my husband Jeff and I will stay in Bali. And it is a property, a very intimate, exclusive property of just 6 villas that were designed by this talented architect. Private plunge pools, customized service through WhatsApp to meet our every need, a gorgeous free breakfast, an upgraded room, this secluded jungle location, and it was all made possible by points. And then on the right, you can see this lie flat double bed in the sky on Qatar Airways, where Jeff and I are going to be flying around the world in business class in May of 2024. And we will have all of those incredible business class benefits that used to be just a dream before I learned what I have learned about travel hacking. So with that, when I started asking, why not you? Suze and I started talking about this as I was sharing what I was doing, and we figured out a way to collaborate together on a dream trip that she had. So, Suze, do you want to tell everybody about that a little bit?
I would love to. Thank you, Kelly. And, I'm so glad that you showed these photos of your dream, honeymoon reunion 20 years later, because it is what inspired me to think about how I could get my family on another dream vacation, um, that, we have been thinking about and sort of planning in the way that we've had been saving some points, sort of willy-nilly, but we just luckily happen to be a Chase family, like we're an Apple family, we're a Chase family. And so Joe had been saving points, just kind of move some things over. And I knew that we were doing that, but I didn't really realize how many we had. And I was like feeling so excited for your Bali trip, but also kind of envious. So that's was like the main emotion. Is like, gosh, oh, she's just got this amazing knack. Like she's digging in and doing all this research, and she's enjoying it. She's really, really good at it. I mean, Kelly is just a super brain pro at anything she does, but specifically this. And I was like, gosh, I wonder if she would want to help me plan this trip that Joe and I had been thinking about doing with our kids to Australia and New Zealand. And if you go back 22 years ago, I guess it was. Joe and I were both separately, didn't know each other then. We were living in Asia. He was in Sydney and I was in Hong Kong and Singapore. And he developed this really close friendship with his family that we're still friends with. And we were visiting New York this year, and they were like telling us, "You guys have to come for Christmas." And this was in April, so we're like, okay, well, how can I make this happen really quickly? And so I'm like, my good friend Kelly B, she knows what she's doing. She's planning this Bali trip, and I just kind of knew that I would not be able to do all the planning myself. Like that was overwhelming to me to think, okay, how the heck am I going to get all four of us to New Zealand and Australia? I don't even know if it's possible, right? Because there's so many moving parts, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. And so luckily Kelly was, available to help me and made it fun, right? The game. And we started getting into all of the details, based on Kelly helping me with putting together, the itinerary, right? So, like, I kind of told her what we wanted to do, and then she started looking at flights and putting them onto a spreadsheet. And so for me, I'm like, oh my God, spreadsheet? No, I'm kind of allergic to spreadsheets. And that's really where the magic happened. So with her support, I started feeling much more calm. And she actually got on the Zoom calls with me, and we looked at all the different um, websites that were, there was a lot of moving parts. I still know there's no way I would have done it by myself. I just couldn't have made. We would have ended up spending $5,000 a person to get ourselves to Australia, because we knew we were going to go for our family this year. Our kids are in college and first year, and they both had the same breaks, and we would have spent the money. We would have, spent the 20,000. um, but now we don't have to. Now we can use those funds for doing really amazing adventures like the Milford Sound in New Zealand and Hobbit Town, in Auckland, and then getting to have this wonderful reunion with our friends and their family over Christmas. So that's kind of a long version, but I'm so thrilled. Our family is so excited about this trip, and it's really because of all of the work that Kelly's done to help us get there. So, little
Oh,
plug for Kelly.
thanks, Suze. I'm so thrilled for your family, and I cannot wait to see those pictures. I know I'm just going to be amazed with the things that you guys see and do together as a family. And that's really what this is all about, is creating those experiences that may not otherwise be possible or within reach. So now we're going to get into the meat of this, everybody. And this is kind of your 101, section on points. And so what I'm going to take you through on these next few visuals are really the building blocks of setting a basic foundational understanding. And then we're going to go from there. So I just want you to think about for a moment that you're probably saving for your future in some aspect, right? You probably care about, maybe saving in your 401k, or you've got savings accounts and you're thinking about return on investment, right? When you invest money, you want to see a return on that investment. And it's just so interesting to me because so many fewer people are actually thinking about a return on the money that they spend, right? We're consumers. We spend all day long at the doctor, at the grocery store, all of your bills. If you've got kids in school, uniforms, I mean, the list goes on. We spend money to live our lives, right? And so this is one way that we can get an incredibly compelling return on the money that we're already spending and turning that into incredible travel experiences. All right. So how are we going to earn travel points? What are the fastest ways to do that? So there are three primary ways that are the fastest to build up these points that then translate into trips. So I've got the big gold star on the left. Draw your attention right there. And it is the credit card welcome offers. And so this is when you open a new travel credit card, and you spend a minimum amount of money in a designated period of time, for example, $4,000 in 3 months, you're going to get a welcome bonus in the form of points from that bank. So the amount of points varies based upon the credit card offer. And like anything else, sometimes there are promotions, right? Where a bank may offer an increased welcome offer with more points. But taking advantage of those welcome offers builds your points balance exponentially, is absolutely the fastest way. And ironically, most people are over in the far right-hand column. So I'll give an example of what I used to do. I had a Delta SkyMiles card because I'm from the Atlanta area, and Delta has their main hub is here in Atlanta. So I had the SkyMiles card. I held on to that card for years and years and years. I was not putting all my possible spend on it. And it took us years to just save for 4 economy flights to Italy for my family. And now that I know what I know about travel hacking, I realize I could have had those seats with 1 or 2 credit cards, in the span of probably less than 6 months for what used to take me over a year. Most people have 1 or 2 cards, and then it takes them a really long time to save their points. So the second fastest way is referring those credit cards. So where this really comes in so much fun is if you think about this as a game, and you are player 1 of that game, you can consider maybe it's your spouse, significant other, best friend, family member. They can be your player 2. And when you refer a credit card to each other, you get referral points. So depending on the card, those can range from about 10,000 points up to 40,000 points just for that referral. So that means you don't even have to spend more money. It's just referring it to one another or to others that you're close to, and you're getting points with no spend and very minimal effort. And Jeff and I have leveraged that strategy just with some of our Chase business cards to earn over 350,000 points so far this year, just using that strategy. And then on the far right is that some of these cards have category bonuses. So for example, I hold an American Express card that gives me 4x points on groceries and dining. Well, that's one of my family's biggest expenses. And I love that every time I go out to eat or to the grocery store and I use that particular card, I'm going to get 4 times the points for my spend. And so if you kind of understand a little bit about these categories, even just a couple of them, and you leverage them, that is a way to multiply your points a lot faster. All right. So now we're going to talk about the types of travel points and miles, because all points are actually not created equal. And I'll start with what I call fixed points cards. So think about these points and miles. They're coming like a currency. So I'll give you an example. So we're going to be stopping through Thailand on our way back from Bali next year. And the currency in Thailand is the Thai baht. And let's say I had a number of Thai baht bills, and then I went to Canada and I went into the store and I tried to buy it and I handed them the Thai baht. Well, I'm not going to be able to use that currency because it's from a different country, right? So think about the same things, is that the different banks have their own types of points currencies. And those currencies are accepted a little bit differently by airlines and hotels when you go to book. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Fixed points cards has only one currency of the issuing hotel brand or airline. So some common examples of these are like a Delta American Express SkyMiles card, a Chase Hyatt card for hotels, or an American Express Marriott card for hotels. That means when you generate points using that card, you can only use it for that one airline or hotel. It's just for that one purpose. You can't transfer that, let's say, over to that Delta SkyMiles, you can't transfer over to American Airlines because that's a different points currency, right? So some of the cards are fixed points. The other type are flexible points, and this is where it's at. These are my favorite type of points. So these cards have its own currency that transfer to a list of possible airlines and hotels. So some examples are the Chase Sapphire Reserved card, the Capital One Venture X card, and the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card. So those are really flexible because I can transfer those points to United Airlines, to British Airways, to Hyatt to book a hotel. And so once you have that bank of points, you have a lot more choices on what to do because they're flexible. Most people aren't really aware of those flexible cards and points because they just kind of are used to having one or two cards that are fixed. So both can be beneficial, but those flexible points are incredibly valuable because of the flexibility. All right. So I'll just share briefly the main types of flexible points currencies. And again, these are my very favorite ones, especially for beginners into travel hacking. You have Chase Ultimate Rewards. They've got lots of different credit cards on offer where you can generate Chase Ultimate Reward points. There's Capital One points rewards. There's American Express membership rewards and Citi thank you points. And each one of these banks has their own list of hotel and airline partners. Some of those airline and hotel partners accept points from more than one bank, which makes it even easier to book. So these are your main flexible points currencies that are issued by the different banks. All right. So in the world of travel hacking, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. The first thing is responsible use and paying off your card every month. We went over that one right at the beginning. The next most important secret rule to know is called the Chase 524 rule. What does this mean and why is it important? What it is that Chase won't approve you for any new card if you've opened more than 4 personal credit cards in the last 24 months. That's what the rule is. They don't publish it anywhere, but it's a well-known rule. If you know, you know. And it's so important because I kind of am a Chase fangirl and I love their points and what they afford me. But I know that I don't want to get locked out from applying for amazing Chase cards with lots of points. And so for that reason, I need to make sure that I don't have any more than 4 personal credit cards open within a rolling 24-month period. So how do you find this out? Well, if you don't know offhand, you can go to freecreditreport.com and you can actually pull a free credit report that's going to show you all of the personal accounts that you've opened in the last 24 months and see how many that is. So for example, are you 2 in 24, meaning that you've opened 2 new credit cards in the last 24 months? Are you 0 in 24, meaning that you haven't opened any? So this is a key rule for you to keep track of where you are, kind of in that process so that you don't miss out on incredible new welcome offers. Now, one little tip off to the side is that if you are an entrepreneur or if you have a side hustle of any kind, even selling clothes on Facebook Marketplace or kids' old toys, that is a side hustle, my friends. And so you can be eligible to apply for business credit cards, which don't count towards the 5 and 24 rule. So when I work with clients and help them to create their own credit card points plan, we definitely look into how to leverage business credit cards because of this 5 and 24 rule. All right. So now we're going to get into the meat of it, because what we promised to deliver today is how to fly to Europe for nearly free. So at this point, we have talked about this points 101 and given you these foundational concepts for you to understand about the points world. So we're going to now give you two examples of how to get to Europe for nearly free. Each of these is just using one new credit card. That's it, just one. So the first example I want to tell you about is flying to Spain. So let's say you have been dreaming of joining Suze and her travel partner, Wendy V, on their incredible trip, which Suze is going to tell you about towards the end of our masterclass today. Who hasn't wanted to join them? I mean, if you've seen the itinerary and this incredible connection, it is amazing. So this example is showing you how you might fly to Spain in economy with one new credit card. So here are the screenshots. What I did was I found a flight from Atlanta directly to Madrid. And this would be actually the dates right around Suze and Wendy's trip next April 2024. And one way, that is 30,000 points and $5.60 in fees. Or if we said round trip, that would be 60,000 points round trip and $10 in fees. Virgin Atlantic accepts points from lots of different cards. So there are many options of how to make that transfer. And what would be the cash value of this? So I took a screenshot, exact same flight, right? The cash price one way is $1,206 or round trip $2,400 plus. Okay. So what card could you use? Well, everybody's a little bit different. However, that Chase Sapphire preferred card is going to give you a 60,000 point welcome bonus, almost exactly what you would need for this flight. So you would open that card, meet your minimum spend. Once those points are awarded, you would transfer them over to Virgin Atlantic and book your flight on the Virgin Atlantic website. And then if you're already in Madrid, as in this example, you can meet Wendy and Suze in Bilbao in northern Spain by taking a high-speed train or just a really quick intra-European flight from Madrid to Bilbao. So we have sort of been talking about how to create two trips in one, right? Because in essence, this has you flying into Madrid, but then you're going to wind up in Bilbao. And I think so many people forget that when you're going to Europe, you don't have to fly into the exact city where you want to end up. It can be an easy opportunity to visit more than one destination. And in fact, Suze and I are planning a personal trip together, which I am so excited about. So Suze, do you want to kind of share an example of how we're using points to plan a multi-destination European trip together next year?
Yay! So excited. Kelly's coming to Spain with Suze. So as she mentioned, I'll get into a little bit more at the end here about Northern Spain girls' travel and style adventures. And what is so cool about working with Wendy, who's a travel advisor, and she helped me put together my family's trip to Madrid, Valencia, and Barcelona last year, which started the whole dreaming of Spain, of continuing my adventures in Spain. What I had talked with Wendy about is there are women that want to travel with other women, and they also have desires to maybe include family or husbands, or they feel a little bit guilty maybe of not including their family or not traveling with their husband. And so we're like, oh, cool. Well, that's easy. You know, Wendy's an expert in, you know, making these trips happen for people all over Europe, but specifically to, you know, Italy, France, and Spain are kind of her sweet spots. So with this trip to northern Spain to Bilbao, I will be flying into Madrid, and a lot of clients will be flying into either, you know, a main city like a Paris or a Milan or a Madrid, and then doing a small flight to Bilbao. meaning you could fly in and out of your main city, go back to Paris and meet your husband there. Or I have one client who's going to be meeting her husband in Milan, and they're going to be then going to Italy after. So you could plan a before or after, a pre or a post trip with someone else or with a family member, and to make this experience even more expansive for yourself. So that's what we're doing. Kelly and I are going to be going to Lisbon and Mallorca, dream bucket list places, while we're over there, because we're already there. So it just, you've already gotten over your jet lag. Why not extend the stay a little bit longer? And with points, we're going to be able to stay at some beautiful, fabulous Hyatts with our Chase points. I mean, I'm leaving that all in Kelly's hands because she's going to plan these amazing locations. I mean, the place in Mallorca's that we were looking at, oh my gosh, I mean, just like what you saw with her Bali planning, luxury indulgence, which we deserve, right? We work hard. We deserve this kind of, you know, if you want to call it luxury, you can also call it self-care. I think it's the same thing. It is way to, support our soul and our spirit and our desire for adventure and growth. So that's
Love
that.
it. I love it. I love it. And I think it makes it so easy when Wendy, on your travel partner, Suze, can help with those multi-destinations where people might be a little bit intimidated to plan that themselves. Having Wendy's expertise for the Spain trip is going to be absolutely invaluable. And, with the use of points, it makes it so much easier to be able to extend. All right, so this is our second example of flying to Europe for nearly free. So in this example, we're going to find a business class ticket, and we're going to do it round trip with one new credit card. So in this example, this is on the airline KLM, which is a Dutch airline based out of Amsterdam as their hub. So this flight is from Chicago to Amsterdam direct. And one way it's 42,375 miles or 84,750 points round trip. You can see that the booking fees on this one are a little bit higher. They're $400 in total because it's business class. Those fees are sometimes a little bit more expensive. If that sounds expensive, just look over to the right-hand screenshot and see how much this cash fare cost. Over $6,700 round trip, and you would get it for $400 in booking fees and a $95 annual fee to open up a new card. So that's a pretty insane return on spend, in my opinion. So this example, you could open, let's say you have a side hustle, you have your own business, you are eligible to apply for a Chase Inc. business preferred card. That card, like I said, very low $95 annual fee, comes with a number of benefits. When you spend $8,000 in the first 3 months, which sounds like a lot, but if you have questions, put them in the comments because there are tons of ways to meet your minimum spend. But if you met that minimum spend, you would get 100,000 point welcome bonus just off of that one card. And you'd have enough to book a hotel night in addition to your entire business class round trip ticket. So that is one example of how you could do this in business class with one new travel credit card. Okay. So what we're going to get to now, it's kind of like bonus pro tips. Okay. So I really want to expand. Again, I want to challenge some of the beliefs and the ways that you've thought about travel so that you can open up so many more possibilities in getting to Europe with your flights. So the first thing is the example that we just talked about with Suze, is that you can fly into one city and out of the other. My husband and I are doing this together next summer. When we go to Bali, we're flying into Bali and we're flying out of Bangkok on our way home, and we're making 2 trips out of that. In the example we just talked about, when I'm going to be over in Spain with Suze, we're going to tack on and, fly out of a different city, right? Out of Lisbon or Mallorca, so that we can make it a multi-destination. And because of the ease of travel around Europe, both by train as well as some super inexpensive flights, it makes it possible. So don't limit your thinking to going into one destination and out of the other, so that you can have more possibilities. Pro tip number 2 is you can prioritize your comfort with mixed class tickets. So let me explain. So let's say you have some points and you're trying to figure out how to best use those. Well, as we've always kind of thought, when booking with cash, typically we do round trip because oftentimes for cash, it's lower. But with points, it's usually not. So that means we can book differently on the way over and on the way back. So let's say you're like I am and you are the lightest sleeper in the world, which is such a curse, and you cannot
Mhm.
sleep in economy, period, at all. So maybe you book a business class ticket on the way over to Europe, splurge on some miles, and that daytime flight on the way back, you're not going to have to sleep, right? Because it's a daytime flight. So maybe you don't mind being in economy or premium economy and use far fewer points for that. So you can think about prioritizing with mixed class tickets. Pro tip number 3 is consider what those of us in this business call a positioning flight. So let's say you are in a mid-sized city in the US and you're sitting there thinking, okay, Kelly, this all sounds great. I want to go to Europe, but I don't have direct flights out of my airport, to get to Europe. Well, what you can do is you can search for available award tickets out of a different major US city, and you can fly into that city either the night before or earlier that same day. And you position to a different city in order to take advantage of an awesome flight that gives you many more possibilities. So you're really searching for the main leg, that transatlantic flight, and then you're just adding on a less expensive positioning flight, and that's going to open up a ton of possibilities for you. Pro tip number 4 is, we've talked about this a little bit, but leverage business travel cards for any side hustle that you have, or if you're an entrepreneur, and it will open up a tremendous amount of points that will make travel even more accessible to you. This is something that few people know and understand and tap into. And I'm here to tell you it is absolutely game changing. And the final tip is to choose a card with transferable points, right? So we talked a little bit about the fixed points versus flexible points. If you want to offer yourself the most amount of ease and planning and the most amount of choices for getting those flights that you really, really want, choose a credit card with transferable points. Okay. So these are my main pro tips to help you truly open and expand your thinking and be jet setting to Europe very quickly. All right. So now I want to talk about this being your time. And I just could not stress this message enough for 2 different reasons. The first reason is just plain logistics. And it means that you have to open up a new card. You have to have time to complete your spend for those points to be awarded to you, to book your trip and actually enjoy your trip. So you can see that that is a few different steps. It's going to take some time. And so the time is now to get on it and be able to build those points so that you can realize the joy, the luxury, the indulgence of having that travel. The second reason why this is your time, I feel is just, it's much more personal. But I have struggled with my health really badly over the last few years. And at the same time, we've all been through a global pandemic that was completely unprecedented. That took away some of our freedom of travel. And I was experiencing mobility issues that kind of removed some of my travel freedom as well. And that is why I have such a sense of urgency I feel that life is too short, and I was tired of being on the sidelines. I don't want to watch those YouTube videos and TikTok and Instagram of people out there living their best life, having these irreplaceable memories with the people that they love through the joy of travel. And I was tired of being on the sidelines. And so, if you are also tired of being on the sidelines and you're ready to take a step, I have a couple of invitations. Suze and I have two invitations that we want to extend to you today to take that next step. And so, Suze is going to tell you about the first one.
Well, my darling, I am just thrilled to be able to put this program together and kind of give you guys a chance to really step in quickly and take advantage of the time frame, as Kelly mentioned, with regards to Wanderlust Luxury Style and Travel Trip to Spain. So I'd like to tell you just a little bit about that, and then about our bonuses for taking some action today. So when you think about luxury, what do you think about? When you think about style and travel, these are things that Wendy and myself have put together in a fresh way. So it's the type of travel that is going away from the conventional tour groups and a new way of traveling together with a group of like-minded women. So these are trips for women who all want to engage deeply in local art, architecture, sustainable design. These are all the influences of a culture like Spain that has the kind of really the ability for you to step into expanding your soul with these kinds of experiences. Because when it comes to, things that we do in our normal life, like Kelly mentioned, that we're spending, we're kind of going about our jobs, we're just like hustling all the time doing our things. Um, are we taking steps towards growing our legacy, towards doing the kinds of things we want to do to achieve better relationships with our families and also with our careers, right? And so these are kinds of things that I want to help people achieve. And when it comes to fashion and style, it's all interwoven with art. So we're talking about culinary arts. So um, from Michelin star restaurants in San Sebastian, which is also known for its film festival. So we'll be, heading there and experiencing the delights of San Sebastian and also the home of Balenciaga in Rutaria. So we'll be doing these day trips outside of Bilbao, and of course we'll be experiencing the architecture of the Guggenheim and witnessing all of the beautiful female art that's in the Guggenheim in Bilbao. So all of this is interlaced in between the northern coastline of Spain, just right near France. There's all these amazing other local artisans. We're going to make our own espadrilles. We're going to look for berets. So millinery is a big thing there too. So there's so much that's going on. It's planned for you. This kind of a trip is once in a lifetime. It's you basically pay your deposit. You make that decision that it's going to be for you. You're going to do this, and then we're going to lead you every step of the way. So there is an itinerary and a link for more information, and we'll make sure and put this into the show notes so that you can check out the itinerary. And then the bonus for getting the early bird start here is Kelly and I both have a special package that we're put together for you. And that's for if you sign up by the 15th of November for your deposit for the trip, you have access to a special one-on-one session with me to plan your packing all of your outfits. So this is for every activity on the itinerary. You will have a planned for you look that coordinates with your whole travel wardrobe. And this is something that I know that clients have panicked over. It's why I wrote a whole book and have a whole video course on packing for trips. because it can cause all sorts of overwhelm and stress. So we want this trip to be seamless and fun. And if you do get your sign up in, you'll be eligible for that one-on-one session with me. And then Kelly's going to tell you about how she can help you with your points and our other fabulous bonus. Take it away,
Yes.
Kelly.
So if you put down your deposit with Suze by November 15th, you're also going to get a free VIP session with me. And so what we will do is we'll talk about your specific situation, your spending patterns, and those types of things. And I will help you come up with a very simple plan to build the points, and not only how to build the points, but once you have them, personally assist you in finding your flights to Spain. So that is really going to round out the incredible itinerary that Wendy and Suze have planned for you, because I will assist you if you want to use points for your flights. And then the second opportunity, the second invitation. So the first one is, making that decision to join some other incredible women in northern Spain with Suze. The second invitation is, if you are interested in working with me separately, one-on-one, you can comment however you're watching, either reply or comment Jumpstart below, and I will reach out to you to set up a complimentary travel Jumpstart call. And what we will do is talk a little bit about your specific situation and your travel goals, and I will help you lay out a path to get started on your travel hacking journey so that you can achieve those travel dreams that you've stopped doing, or not gotten started on in the way that you want to. So we are delighted to extend both of those invitations to you. We are so grateful that you have spent the time here with us today, and I wonder how your perspective has changed from when you first got on with us about what travel is possible for you. So thanks so much from both of us, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, sorry, everybody. I'm figuring out how to stop the recording. Oh, the joys of technology. Okay.